But I really do hope that a company that could treat it a little better will end up getting the license sometime in the future. If NECA got the license to these guys, it would be fantastic. The sculpts would be better. The likenesses rights would have to be figured out. I know they probably wouldn't bother if they couldn't get the likenesses spot on. And the articulation would probably be a lot better than this too. Well, I got my wish. It took many years, but NECA did get the rights to do Universal Monsters. And I'm pretty excited about this. So this is the Frankenstein's monster from the original Frankenstein movie, or the original Universal Frankenstein, not the Edison one. And this is an obvious first choice for NECA to go after for Universal Monsters because it's kind of probably the most iconic of the lot. And this release came out early at Walmart's. It's a color version of the monster. There's supposed to be a black and white version, I believe. I have not even seen prototypes of that. As far as I'm aware, I'm assuming it's just going to be this in a black and white color scheme, and knowing NECA's usual MO, I'm pretty sure we're going to get it. But this, I guess, went out to Walmart's first and then will be available elsewhere somewhat later. But let's take a quick look at this guy and see what he's all about. So we get 3 sets of hands with him. So starting on the outside, we have his kind of more just flat open hands like you'd see him on the slab. Next in, we have what I assume is supposed to be the flower holding hands. And then in the middle, we have kind of the grasping hands. So these all have a hinge in them and their own peg. So this is kind of a more of an older style of hand joint, but I think it works all right. They all have a nice kind of sickly green paint job. It looks pretty washed out on my camera right now. And then they do have painted nails. Detail on them is pretty nice. They got the veins and wrinkles and everything. The only problem I have is some of them kind of have a seam across the palm of the hand that kind of disrupts the sculpt a little bit, but overall they're pretty nice. We do also get 3 different head sculpts. The one in the middle is more of a just kind of static facial pose. The one on the right, I think, is supposed to be more like the growl he does at Frankenstein's Bride. Not the Bride of Frankenstein. Yeah, it gets so confusing with these titles. But yeah, that kind of like upward mouth turned snarl where he's kind of like rawr or whatever. Yeah, I can't believe I just imitated that. That sounds dumb. And then the one here on the left is more like him kind of laughing, or it could be him angry. I guess it depends how you want to portray it, but yeah, they're all decent. The first time I bought this figure, and yes, I bought him twice, I had a hard time finding one with decent paint. A lot of them had kind of sloppy paint around the eyes, but I found a decent one. One thing I will note is that they all kind of have a nice flat tone for the skin that works well for the monster, and there actually is kind of like some highlights, metallic or gloss highlights on the staple on his head and the wound on his head, but not on his eyes, which I think is kind of weird. The eyes do kind of look a little flat to me. Not a major problem, but just kind of a little nitpick. But ironically, the second time I went to buy this figure, I didn't even look at the head sculpts because I kind of figured I could mix and match if I needed to, because I had to return the first one, and it ended up being this figure here, which I think the paint apps are just as good, if not better, than the first one I picked up. So I guess just your mileage may vary on this one. And then for accessories, as you saw at the beginning, he has the chain, the manacles for his hands. So they're like plastic hoops that you take the hands off and just peg them through. And I believe it is a metal chain. It feels like it's a metal chain, but it's kind of painted all this kind of dull gray. So not really metallic looking at all, but I think it works for the character. And then we get some flowers, and how am I going to show these off? Yeah, I don't know if they're going to show up well on camera at all, but yeah, they're white, yellow center, green stem. One's a single, and then this one is like a double. So he doesn't hold them particularly well in those flower holding hands, or at least I haven't been able to get him into a pose where I feel like it looks okay, but they're kind of a nice accessory just for that iconic scene. I think the figure itself is well done. We have the electrodes on his neck as they should be, so those look pretty good. Man, this camera really is washing out, or lighting or something is washing out that flesh tone. It's so weird looking on camera that he looks almost like a pale, almost a brownish tone. The suit jacket looks like it's just black. It has a little bit, I think, of like gray shading on it. The undershirt there is also black, same with the pants. Honestly, all of his clothes are black. But this jacket is soft, so it does have some movability on it when you're trying to pose him. See the single button holding on there. You got the rolled up sleeves, or the 2 short sleeves. You can see the kind of bar going across his arm there and the scars. Similar detail on his other side. Nice wrinkles sculpted in throughout. Same with the pants. Got his big Frankenstein boots on there. And the back, similar detail. Honestly, not like a super intricate figure, you know, as far as detail goes, but
I think he looks really good. For articulation, he has a ball joint at the base of his neck, or the base of his head, and then a second one at the base of his neck. So you get a really nice range of motion out of all that, which I really appreciate. And I thought there'd be a lot of like trying to remove the head, the whole neck would come off. So far, it's been decent for me. The arms can rotate a full 360. They can go out to the side pretty far, not quite straight out, but decently far. They have a single jointed elbow that bends about 90 degrees and also swivels. The hands can all rotate and then swivel on the same axis here. It's kind of a ball joint in the mid-torso, so you could lean decently forward, decently back. You could rock side to side as well as rotate. Honestly, a lot more motion here than I would have expected given the bulky jacket. The legs. So the hips were the problem on the first one I bought. So this side, his left side, you can hear it squeaks and cracks and stuff. It was like that on my other one too. But on this figure, it's kind of the same, both left and right. My other one almost ratcheted on his right leg, and I was just terrified it was going to snap off. I heated it up, did everything I could to it. It still was just like cracking into place, so I had to replace it. We have an upper leg swivel. We have a single joint at the knee, not quite 90 degrees. You'll also rotate at the knee. The foot, he'll bend pretty far down, a little bit up, and you could pivot there. So I thought for once I was actually going to be able to do a measurement of the figure, but my ruler won't actually fit into the space that I have him in. But yeah, you can see he's maybe roughly like a little over 8 inches tall. And then here he is compared to two other standard original Frankenstein figures. We've got the Diamond Select release on the left and the Mezco release that needs a really good dusting there on the right. And then with the Diamond Select ones, they ended up making the figures bigger in the later waves. So there on the left is the Son of Frankenstein figure, which you can see the character went from being shorter than this NECA one to being taller. And then on the right is the Sideshow. I don't really have many of the Sideshow Universal Monsters, smaller figures to compare with, but I think it's a decent scale. He's probably still a little too tall, but it's not nearly as bad as it could have been. And then we got the Bride there on the right from Diamond Select, and also the Diamond Select Dr. Jekyll that was based off the Boris Karloff appearance. And then the Diamond 2.0 Mummy and the 2.0 Wolfman, though I have to help the Wolfman stand here, I think, because he's got really loose legs. And these are the next two that we know of, or we've seen real teases of from NECA. So these guys will be getting their comparison next. They also did tease a Dracula, but we haven't really seen much of that yet, I don't think. And then I'm currently missing a couple pieces to it that I have to dig up. But here's the Diamond Select Frankenstein's monster table that he came with. I think this actually works okay for this NECA figure. The figure's a little taller than the Diamond one, but he still fits on here decently well, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, I really like this figure. I think from the paint to the articulation to the accessories, they did a really good job with him. A lot of my problem with NECA's quote-unquote ultimate figures is I feel like they usually leave certain things out with the intent of making another one, and therefore it's not really an ultimate figure, it's just another figure that they call ultimate. But this one, I can't really see them adding a whole lot more that wouldn't be just like diorama building stuff, which is not something they really do for the most part. I guess if I had to pick one thing to complain about, I would have loved to see double jointed knees on this guy so you could actually get him into a real like kneeling position with the flowers to replicate that scene. As it is, he really has a hard time balancing if you just bend those legs as much as they go and try to put him on his knees. Minor gripe, I probably would never display him that way anyway, but it would have been kind of cool to have the option to do it in a more accurate way. But outside of that, really love this figure, really looking forward to what else they're putting out. And seeing the teases of the Wolfman and that he's going to come with the parts to make a Larry Talbot figure, I am actually really intrigued that maybe, just maybe, we'll get a few extra humans in this line, because I would love a Dr. Frankenstein figure, I would love a Fritz or an Igor figure, and since they're doing the Mummy, I'd really love an Ardith Bay figure. Every time a Mummy thing comes out, I always bitch that there's not enough Ardith Bay stuff. But, I mean, he's Ardith Bay most of the movie. He's not in the bandages most of the movie. It's just the iconic look. But I really want that more Karloff look going on with that figure. Obviously, I assume after they do those main four, we'll probably see them do a Creature from the Black Lagoon and an Invisible Man, which I think Invisible Man has a lot of potential too. So I'm really hoping they can knock something like that out of the park with a lot of cool accessories and translucent pieces and all that stuff. So I am very excited to see what this line holds in store, and I hope they don't drop the ball on future releases. I know there was some debate with that Wolfman figure in terms of the pants color and the fact that he has a mustache mustache, which from what I've looked up probably isn't accurate, but also kind of depends on who's colorizing the photo as to whether that's there or not. But I think it's really just them misunderstanding the blending of the nose appliance into the lower lip. But we'll get more into that when I finally have that figure in hand and can actually review it. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.